Hey everyone, it's Gabe from Stonefly, and today we're going to be tying a patch rubber leg. The hook and the vise is a Fulling Mill 1270 living larva in a size 12. For the body, I'm using Hairline Small Stonefly Chenille in a black brown. For thread, we're using a Veevus 8/0 in black. For the bead on this guy, we are using a 3.2mm tungsten bead from Fulling Mill in black. And for the legs on this guy, we are going to be using black Lifelex legs. And we're also using a little bit of 0.015 lead wire. So before we do anything and put the lead on, we're actually going to start some thread right here in front of the bead. Just a little bit, not a lot. Just because we're going to throw some antennas on this guy. Take a chunk of our Lifelex that we already cut. Trim a little bit off. Doesn't matter how much you have, because you know, if you put too much on, you can always trim some off and put it to size. I found if you get one side tied in and tie it down the shank of a hook a little bit, then it's easier to fold that second piece forward and then tie it in and double up those wraps. You have these two antennas coming off the front, everything wrapped forward, and then we'll go ahead and throw a whip finish in right here between those antennas and the eye. Now that we got those guys in, we can go ahead and scoot our bead forward. Now we'll throw a little bit of lead on. And I found that on this size 12 hook, about 10 to 15 wraps of this typically fits best. This guy I'm going with 13. Okay, now that we got that in, these antennas are a little bit in the way, so we'll go ahead and trim them up just a little bit. Now we're going to start our thread. I'm going to start right here behind the lead. Before we wrap forward, we're going to make a little thread dam. Otherwise, that lead can try to spin on us or try to slide down the back of the hook. So if you make a little dam, it won't move around on us at all. Wrap forward, really secure all that lead in. Alright, start working our way down towards the end. There's the bend of the hook. Spin on our thread. I'm going to make our tail with our Lifelex as well here. Take another chunk of it. And the same thing, I usually tie in one side and then get it where I want it, and then I'll tie in the second one, wrapping down, getting 2 wraps over the top of them. You kind of get these guys into position, kind of pull them tight a little bit, do a couple wraps down a little lower. Now we can go ahead and trim up this longer one, and we'll go ahead and trim everything at the end. Now we can add in our chenille, Stonefly chenille. So I already have this little piece cut here. Before we tie it in, I like pulling some of the material off so we have that core out, and we'll use that to tie it in. Usually helps taper the body a little bit better. Get that tied in, we can progress our thread forward. Now let's go ahead and do touching wraps with this forward. We're actually going to stop about halfway and try to keep a little tension on this, but get it out of our way here. And now we're going to tie in some more legs. On an actual stonefly, I believe there's 6 legs total, 3 per side. But we're just going to go ahead and stick with 2 per side, total of 4 legs. It's a little bit easier to tie, and if the fish are getting kind of picky on the amount of legs you have, then that's kind of usually not too picky. I've found a few different ways to tie these guys in. I've tried them. The best one, or the one that I like the best, is just tying them in right on the side. I've tried doing an X on the spine of the hook, but they just don't seem to lay as natural. So I'll just tie them in on the sides of the hook. This one's a little long, kind of getting in the way, so we'll go ahead and trim it up a little bit. But we'll go through and trim them all at the very end. I'll do the same with this guy on the back side here. Wrap it down so they're equal. I'll go ahead and progress our thread forward right behind the bead. Now we'll go ahead and finish with our touching wraps. We're going to go ahead and sneak one more in. We might have to pull these legs out of our way a little bit, sneak one in right behind them. Just keep going, touching all the way forward. And then one last right here behind the bead. Get a little tight, but not bad. A couple wraps there, and I'll go ahead and drop this chenille in. Okay, we can go ahead and trim our chenille here. Get it out of the way. Throw a couple whip finishes right here behind the bead. No, I'm not completely done, but we're going to go through and just going to trim all these legs and tails up. So for this part, actually pull them tight a little bit. Get them right in here. Try to keep everything fairly close to the same length. Try to eyeball it here as best as you can. Most of these should be about the same length. Tails can be a little bit longer. Tenons can be a little bit shorter. But that is your stonefly, or your patch rubber leg stonefly. It's a fairly easy tie, but it's super effective to imitate stonefly. And those Lifelux legs really move around a lot in the water, giving it a lot of good presentation.